Hey there, AfterBuzzers. It's Gonsalves here for another episode of Catfish. I don't know about you, but I feel like somebody's watching me. Are they watching you? Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey! Oh.
Somebody might be watching us.
Yo, so there's just so many things.
So many things.
So many things. First of all, this song is perfect.
Right. Good choice. Good choice.
Thank you. But dude, so I've never seen an episode of Catfish like this, let alone like an episode of just a show.
MTV, they need an Emmy for this one.
Yeah, this was bonkers. I mean, I can see why they went 90 minutes with it, because you had to do all of that to tell the entire story.
There was no way to fit that into 1 hour. It was. We just watched a movie.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it's the same thing as a movie.
Yes.
Pretty much.
I'm still a little.
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to talk about it. Mr. Engineer, man, if you can bring up the live chat, because I'm sure that we'll have some people that want to talk about the craziness as well. Before we begin, of course, I am Gonsalves, your host. And you can find me always at the Poet Saint all day, every day. Of course, I'm not here by myself. We do have a fallen soldier in the name of Jimmy V. Bear. If we can pour out some water for him.
Right.
But of course, holding it down, my boy, Nino Llanera is in the house. What up, Nino?
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Nino. You can catch me at Nino Llanera on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I know our engineer's going to try to pull up the live chat, but I'm also trying to do it. Our internet's not the best here, but I would like to talk to you. So if we can't get on live chat, tweet me, please.
Please, tweet us.
Either one of us.
Yes.
This episode, hello.
Yeah, exactly. And if you do tweet and also use a live chat, make sure you use hashtag ABTV Catfish so we can, follow along and know where you're at.
There you go. Live chat is up. Thank you, Mr. Engineer.
There it is. Thank you, sir. So we start off with Miss Kayla. Find out she's 18.
Right.
Pretty young. Shepherdsville, Kentucky. Mm-hmm. She talks about having a child with her boyfriend, who I believe lives there as well. Looked like that was the case. And 2 years ago, Courtney, lady by the name of Courtney, contacted her saying her dad wants to be in her life.
Right.
So you're thinking like, oh, okay, some long lost, person that now wants to come back into the child's life. Okay, cool. I mean, that's interesting. It's going to be an interesting show. And then we find out later, it's like, he actually passed away 14 years ago.
Okay. I didn't see any previews to this episode. I know it was going to be crazy. And when they started saying that, I was like, okay, this is like, maybe it's a catfish for her dad, but it's really not her dad. Maybe somebody's trying to mess with her. But then the whole he's passed away 14 years ago part, I wish you saw my face.
That was all crazy. That was all crazy. My thing is, I'm trying to figure out, first of all, I will say this is also the first, it was a 90-minute episode, so there was a lot of firsts. 90-minute episode, I don't think we've had that before that I can recall in the past seasons. This also had nothing to do with a relationship.
Exactly.
Normally, the Catfish is about somebody liking someone else or in love with someone else that they can't get a hold of, which is why they reach out to Nev and Max to, reunite them and kind of get to the bottom of why they can't get together.
Exactly.
This had nothing to do with it. This could have been called something else. This could have called medium catfish. I don't know. I mean, it could have been
catfish,
this.
A medium special.
Olivia O says they tested our intelligence with this episode. I think that's a good summation because really you're thinking like, okay, logically, and I think this was Max that said this. He's definitely the logical one out of the two. He's like, this is not logical. This doesn't make sense that she can, this lady, Courtney, can talk to someone who's dead and then relay these messages to her daughter, who hasn't seen in 14 years.
Right. And then, I mean, somebody here said, this could be all a hoax to be on TV or for TV or whatnot. That's always still in the back of my mind. But the way they portrayed this, the way they filmed it, and the way it was just put all together, it just made me believe it so much. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So either way, if it is fake or if it's not, shout out to whoever put the story together or how they pulled this off. Like, I don't know if you remember, like back in the day, Jerry Springer was on Spring Break on MTV, and somebody like, you remember this?
Yes,
Somebody
they played on
and messed with them
before Catfish was even around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like, it could be a possibility, but still, I still give it an Emmy.
Well, my thing is, if if they really did like this was a fabricated story and they played everybody, you know, first of all, I mean, they've done this before where they've actually played, you know, MTV and Nev and Max, and it's come to light. You know, it's like, oh, okay, you played us, we got you, type thing. But if they did, first of all, yeah, shout out to them for doing that, because it's an elaborate scheme to do something like that. But honestly, you know, I have my own, you know, theories about the whole situation. I do think that, you know, there are spirits that are out there. I believe in Jesus. I'm gonna say that. So do I. And I love Jesus. But I mean, I believe
like you're
that
trying to protect yourself right now from anything that might be surrounded by you right now.
I'm just saying. I mean, I do know that there's a spirit world out there. Would I dabble in something like that? No, not me personally. But do I think that things like this exist? Yes. So that being said, I'm going to say that this possibly could be happening. And it seemed like for a long time watching this episode, even Neva and Max were like, I don't know. But then there was so many things that kept relating it to be real.
Okay. So for purposes because of this show,
yes,
I've had like experiences.
Oh gosh.
Like that have happened to me when I was younger and I moved into a new house, and when I was younger and I lived in another house, and with that instance, we found out that somebody killed themselves in that house, and they never told us.
Wow.
When we rented it out, like they committed suicide where our TV was, and that's where all the crazy stuff happened.
Oh, shut up.
And I specifically remember this. I was like 6 or 7. Like I remember it, everything.
Right.
And the toilet would flush by itself here and there. So I totally believe in spirits because of the situations that I've been or things that I've seen.
Right.
Nowhere near a medium. Nothing comes through me, and I can't tell you that blah 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 says they miss you and they love you.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I mean, I think that's why I feel like I believe it more because I don't know. I don't know the universe like Neve said. You know what I mean? Like we don't really know. We can't say yes or no. Situation.
Again, like
but I believe in God.
hey,
you know what I mean?
praise him.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like I said, knowing that, and obviously too, if you think about it, if you believe in God, you know, God is a spirit, so he's not tangibly here. So if you believe in God, you have to believe in, you know, the other things.
Right.
So like I said, not that I associate myself.
Right. Far beyond that association, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But in this particular case, this was really an interesting story how this all came about.
Right.
So we find out that this lady, Courtney, contacted her 2 years ago, and she's been channeling her dad's spirit for this time frame. Of course, the same things that we normally see. She won't video chat with her, which is why, you know, she calls Neo Max because she's like, is this real? You know, obviously. And it's a touchy subject because we find out that she lived so many years. You know, she's only 18, so she lived, you know, 14 years without her mom and dad.
Right. Super sad.
Right, exactly. And speaking of her mom and dad, even the situation, her dad had a mental breakdown and actually killed her mom.
Right.
And then took his own life later in prison.
Right.
So that's like a crazy thing. And what's crazy also is just this the synonymity with it. I didn't say that right, but you know what I'm trying to say. On MTV's Real World, there's a lady that's she's one of the characters on there, one of the cast members. The same thing happened to her. Her dad killed her mom and then killed himself.
Correlation.
Yeah, crazy. So
and the mental illness runs in the family because their dad, her dad abused her dad's dad. Abused. When they were younger,
exactly.
Right?
Because we see, you know, we talk to a sister,
that out.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. That's why we're messing up our words. All right, so
won't he do it?
Right, exactly. Won't he do it? Oh, won't he do it? All right, so Courtney told her, and now this is what she's telling to, you know, trying to give her sake, and she told her that she was a medium, so she did admit to being a medium, and then she mentioned things about her dad that no one else knew, which of course piques her interest because she's telling all these things, and we actually see them read, you know, the first, you know, message that she sent her, and she sent a lot of things that were very detailed that only people close to him would know, not a stranger. And then we find out she lives in Jupiter, Florida, and you know, you would think, and this is my first thing right out the bat. It's like, yo, what kind of money is she asking for? You know, what is she asking for?
What's the motive?
Exactly, because there has to be a motive or a con when somebody is doing this. How many emails have you got? Like, you got $2 million in Africa.
Right.
You just need to, message us or whatever.
I didn't get $2 million. No? Okay.
Yeah, no, sorry, it's not 2 million.
All right.
My bad. But anyway, back to Catfish. So you would think that that's the motive. And so, and same thing with Nev and Max. They were like, okay, she asked for money. She's like, no, it's actually the reverse. She actually sent me a gift card for my baby shower.
Right, $25.
And stuff like that. So she's not asking for anything. So it just becomes more and more interesting as it develops. So we find out also that, like, more detail with, the fact with her mother and father. And her mother was actually pregnant at the time she was killed. And we meet Kayla's aunt, Shannon, who talks about her brother, who is obviously Kayla's dad, having mental illness, and that it was tough for her to grow up without the parents. And Shannon is very skeptical, like anybody would be. She's like, I don't really believe this. I think she's kind of playing with her and using her, being emotional, being young, these type of things, that are going on. So, and then she also asked Nev if she could, like, talk to her personally. So at this point, I'm like, okay, well, what is this about? So I'm thinking she's going to, probably say something like she kind of knows who Shannon is, or she thinks she may know who Shannon is, or something like that. But no, she's just saying she's concerned. She says that they kept a lot about the family from Kayla, for her own good, and Kayla, it's funny because Shannon's telling that to Nev, while Kayla's talking to Max about her grandmother also keeping her sheltered, which I can understand. You're protecting your child.
Of course, there could be a lot of dark secrets that you think a child would not understand right away. But especially now, in in this day and age, anything can be Googled, anything can be looked at. They could dig deeper as she gets older. She's 18, and she's done so. So she does know some of the things that her aunt thinks she doesn't know. You know what I mean? Well, which is totally fine, but it was really nice to see her aunt try to protect her from the situation. Right. Because it's pretty grave. Yeah. A lot of this stuff is pretty deep.
Yeah, it's very, very deep. So then Max and Eve, of course, do their detective work, get their Sherlock Holmes on, and, they search the internet to see, basically, first of all, the legitimacy of her, Shannon, and also if maybe she got this information online and maybe she's trying to play her or whatever. So they find out things about Frankie and how he died. So they do find that on the internet in common knowledge. So they're like, okay, she could have got that from the internet. Okay, so let's dig deeper. So they also find pictures with items on a relative's Facebook. Right. And these are things that she mentioned. The shirt, the hat. These are teams that he liked and enjoyed, the Bulls, and all of that stuff going on. So then they number search, they do the phone number search, and it actually comes up with the name of Courtney. Right. And then they go on her Facebook, and it looks legitimate. She has, a sufficient number of friends. She has, people that are commenting on her pictures and things like that. They actually contact a guy named Eric for more information. And this is where you think, like, okay, it's going to turn a corner. It's going to turn a corner. So they contact, but they don't say anything, right? So they then go back and, they start giving the information to Kayla, what they found, all of this kind of stuff. And then they get a message from Eric, who turns out to be Erica. Right. Which I'm like, oh, here it goes.
This is the one.
It's starting. Okay. And who says, he's Eric's wife, Erica, which is very weird, and writes back and says, hey, how can I help you? And then they, says a call, and she calls like right away, it seems like. So she starts talking, and that she says she knows Courtney and confirms that she does speak with Frankie. So this is when I'm like, okay, this is getting really crazy, because it was already started crazy. This lady, I mean, how would you feel if a stranger hit you on Facebook or message you somehow and basically said that they're talking to your deceased father, and they've been talking to him for a number of years now, and they want to let you know that they've been talking to him?
So I would go into investigation mode like 110% in like 0.2 seconds. Right. Like, I would have asked the hard-hitting questions already. You know what I mean? Out the gate. I would totally ask something that no one knows. Only I know or my family would know. I would ask right out the gate. Right away. Why did it take so long for her to ask the deep, dark secrets? Maybe she, once again, because of the situation and because of how sensitive she was to it, she didn't want the fairy tale, you know what I mean, to possibly end. You know what I mean? Kind of just like a love story, you know what I mean? You really don't know who it is next. I mean, on the screen, behind these words or whatnot. So maybe she was too scared to ask those questions, and then it all be a lie. You know what I mean? A lot of the people in the chat here have a lot to say about it, saying that there could be so many different scenarios to the situation too.
A lot of scenarios.
You know what I mean? Like they were saying, maybe she was a pen pal to him
while he was in prison.
You know what I mean? While he was in prison. You guys have a lot of good insight, you know, like of what could have happened. And I mean, once again, we really just don't know.
Right.
This could all be fake. This could all be a hoax. But you know, just the story alone is just pretty crazy to, you know, follow.
It's very crazy.
Right.
Like, it's very crazy, like, from jump. So, like I said, in talking to this lady, Erica, like, it makes another turn because now she's confirming and saying that, yes, speak with Frankie, and Frankie's actually even been in Erica's house.
Right.
And has done a bunch of things in Erica's house. So she's basically confirmed, yes, not only does Courtney talk to this gentleman, Frankie, but he's actually been to my house and visited and done this and done that. And I felt him touch me and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, yo.
Not blowing the cheek and everything.
Yo.
Hello.
Yo, that's crazy.
The air I'm feeling right now is the vent, right? Okay. Just checking.
That is definitely it.
Just checking.
Right. So, of course, Max, who always is the skeptical one, he, you know, of course, is getting skeptical because he's hearing this and he's just like, it's too easy.
Right.
You know, like, there's no way that, you know, we reach out to Eric, but then it's Erica, the wife, and then it's like, oh, yeah, he's touched me. I mean, he's, you know, talked to me and da-da-da-da. So I can get where Max is going, and I would probably be like, giving a side eye, like a strong side eye. So, Kayla starts breaking down because, you know, all of this is crazy. You know, she was young, you know, 4 years old or somewhere around there when her, you know, her parents died. So you can imagine, you know, and she also kind of talks about, you know, how she was grown up without her parents.
Right.
And how tough that was. And I really felt bad for her.
I did too.
Because, I mean, I can imagine, you know, I mean, thank the Lord, both my parents are alive, well. They've been with me my entire life. They're still together as a married couple. I mean, I appreciate them. But to grow up without your family, without your parents, and, you know, then see, you know, other kids with their parents and having a good time, and, you know, yours are gone, and they, you know, are gone in a very crazy way. I mean, that's got to mess with you.
And she was a part of that too. With the chase.
Yes.
You know, with the chase being there, the gunshots to the car.
She saw her dad kill her mother.
Exactly. She saw everything. She was there, you know, pre and post of the situation.
Right.
Which would be traumatic for her not to, you know, be at all messed up at the moment. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know her psychological issues at the moment, but still, like, she's still a pretty stand-up person at the moment, and she looks like she's put together, minus the emotional baggage. But I would probably not be like her. That's a lot to deal with.
That's very a lot. It's a lot to deal with. I would think that because her auntie was there, it sounds like she has a good support system with her family.
Right.
You know, her grandmother has been there for her and kind of sheltered her. You know, just caring for her, just wanting not her to know the heinous things that, you know, happen. Same thing with the aunt. You know, and she said other members of the family. So it sounds like she has a good family backing, which has helped. I don't know if she's gone to therapy or anything like that. That wasn't brought up, but the fact that her family has been there for her, I think that's helped her at least get to where she is now. Right. You know, and be somewhat stable. So, she, you know, Nev calls Courtney. So there's the next step, obviously. Yeah. And so she answers, and right away, you know, she's like, hey, you know, of course, like anyone that's called, they're taking off, you know, guard, you know, what have you. And so she actually says she feels hurt that they don't think that her intentions are good. Right. And, you know, she knows about the show, but at the same time, it's like, I'm really here for her. Like, I've not proven myself to do anything to the contrary. So, and of course, Nino and Max are simply doing what they do because normally in these type of situations, somebody is lying.
Exactly. And I thought when she started kind of getting testy about, I'm kind of hurt that she would do this, then she was just going to make that excuse to basically be mad and be like, you know what, I don't want to be here because of the situation. Right. And you know what, I'm not going to talk to her anymore. It didn't go that way. And I'm just like, it's still going. Like, they're going to meet. Wow.
Yeah. And she, I mean, she was definitely reluctant. She still wasn't. And we find out later why. But yeah, she was definitely reluctant, but she did decide that she was willing to do it. So they all go to Jupiter.
They hop on a shuttle.
Go to Jupiter, Florida, and they set a meeting at the park. I thought this was funny, and someone in the live chat actually said it that the raccoon. Like, I love how they were playing with the raccoon.
Right.
That was hilarious. This raccoon is sitting up, standing
Right.
on two legs.
That was Frankie.
And looking at, but I love how like MTV, the producer, how they just put all this together in the music, and it's just like, look at this raccoon, look, and everything is like, you're so sensitive to all your surroundings, and it's like, hey, look, he's just looking at us, he's standing up, how is this possible? You know, all this kind of stuff. I thought that was hilarious.
Right. What did I tell you about when we were, because we watch it here in the studio with the subtitles on, because it helps us concentrate when there's a lot of things going on or whatnot. And it kept on saying, what did it say? It kept on saying something disturbing music or something like that. What was it?
Like disturbing or scary music or something
disturbing
like that.
or scary or serious music, all in subtitles. Because that was the whole episode was just disturbing.
It was. It was very. And they definitely played it up with the music.
They definitely did.
It definitely did that. So Courtney shows up, and as soon as she shows up, I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, yo, because she comes up, and and she's, they mentioned too that she's very pretty,
right?
She's an attractive woman, and so she walks up, and it's almost like one of those situations where you haven't seen anybody in a long time. You're like, oh my gosh, how you doing? Oh, and it's like, first of all, it was super awkward because
don't touch me.
Because she first, the first thing she says that we see, like after meeting Neve, is she's like, "Oh my gosh, you have your dad's eyes."
Oh my gosh.
So to me, I'm like, if I'm gonna be meeting you, for the first time, and I've been talking to you about my deceased father for 2 years, and the first thing you say to me is that I have my dad's eyes, I'm gonna be freaked out. I don't care.
And she was already like in the shell where she almost looked like she was going to get into fetal position.
Yeah, for real. Because this whole thing is so crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, for her to show up and then, she's just there. She's like, oh my gosh, you have your dad's eyes. She goes to hug her. And I didn't mind that she was hugging her because, they definitely have made this connection.
Right.
But it was just like it was very awkward. And you could tell Kayla was just like, she had the frozen look going on.
Right.
And rightfully so, because, I'm like, yo, just say hi and let's talk. But to say I have my dad's eyes, that's creepy.
Did we look close enough to see if the raccoon was behind Courtney at all?
I didn't see the raccoon anymore. Everybody. So, anyway, so she shows up. So, and I love how they pan to Nev and Max because they were just like freaked out.
Right.
Like, I think they were just like what we were watching. Like the audience members watching, they were seeing it live and they were just like, yo.
And Max is the one who's always reserved.
Right.
And he always has a level head.
Right.
And doesn't jump to conclusions. To see him kind of like flustered at that part. Or just that whole park situation.
Yo.
Okay.
That was bananas. So, she talks about, explains, of course, like, how does she meet Frankie? Like, how is she the chosen one, right? And so she says, he just came to him. She was writing on a computer, and then she kind of felt something, and then, he just basically started speaking to her. And so that's kind of how the whole...
He saw... What happened was... What happened?
I felt something.
Shut up. You're joking with me.
I did feel like some steps, but it's okay.
That might have been me.
Oh, was that you? Okay.
I mean, did I move?
I don't know.
Freaked me out a little bit. Hold on, wait a minute.
I did feel something though.
Engineer, did you see anything in the cameras or anybody in the chat? If you see anything, you write and you let us know.
Right. Over that door.
But what was my train of thought? What was
you were saying something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no. The way she saw him first was when she woke up one time, I think.
Right.
And from the corner of her eye.
Right.
Then he kind of just appeared. And I hope he doesn't do that right now.
No, it was definitely awkward. Like the whole meeting place, the fact that he chose her, and so she says after meeting him, she does go to look him up because of course he says these things and he mentions about his family. So she wants to go to the internet to corroborate the story to see like, is this crazy? Am I crazy?
Right.
Or did this really happen?
Right.
And so I think once she saw the things that she was able to find on the internet about him, and it did make the connection and it did make sense, then for her, she was like, oh, okay, now I believe that, he is speaking to me and I need to reach out to her.
Right. And she went to a couple of doctors to see if she was schizophrenic or she had multiple personality disorder or whatnot. So she kind of did her due diligence to figure the situation out as well too.
Which to me, I think that's interesting because she did say, at the beginning that she, or at least Kayla told us that she admitted to being a medium. So if she's a medium, why would you be going, you know what I'm saying, to doctors if that's what you feel like you are?
Right. I think we should probably freaked her out because she said she's never felt this before. This is the first time.
Like in that way?
In that way, where like this was like the first instance, and
right.
why her and why is it happening to her?
And maybe this was the first time that something like this has happened.
Right.
Now she's saying I am a medium or what have you. And before,
which is funny because somebody said in the chat earlier that she created a public figure Facebook page.
Oh, really?
Courtney. Which, like, you know, when you see that kind of makes me wonder, was this a publicity situation? That's what everyone's been saying in the chat, and I totally get all of your hoax concerns and all the other stuff too. Like I said, we don't know. We're just reporting on what we saw.
Well, of course. And I mean, on all intents and purposes, they reached out to her. Right. It wasn't like she reached out to them or what have you. Mm-hmm. She was very. I mean, to say like it's a publicity stunt, right. I don't necessarily agree with that. Only because I can see people have been on reality shows, people have done things, and then they make something out of it after the fact.
Right.
They capitalize on it.
Right.
And so I could see her doing that just for the sake of, now I've been on TV. People are going to see that this is actually legitimate, watching the episode. Let me see if I can help other people, and then create that and turn it into a business or what have you the case. Right. So I don't really believe like it was like a coax to further her career as a medium or what have you. I don't agree with that. A lot of strange things, but I don't agree with that particular one. So anyway, she mentions about not wanting to meet up because they asked her that. I was like, why were you, hesitant? Why did you not? And she said, the scrutiny she would face, which is correct.
Right.
She would definitely get it from probably her people.
Right. Questions left and right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
She's married. She has a family, of course, on Kayla's end, her people. So that's why she kind of wanted to be anonymous still and kind of just, relay this information and maybe help her with something. Kayla also is skeptical because Nev and Max, they actually kind of do a powwow on their own, and they say they believe her. Right. They say they feel like, they've done this for years now.
Right.
They know when people are lying. They don't feel like she's lying, and so they feel like it checks out. Of course, Kayla is skeptical, as she should, because it's just so much.
Which is good, I thought, that she got even more skeptical when she met her.
Right.
Because she was pretty wide-eyed and, believed everything she said when she didn't see her first.
Right.
But then she wanted to hit it with the truth.
Right.
I wish she asked these truths, like, way earlier. You know
I think it's also a situation where people are going crazy on the chats, boy.
I know.
This is one of those episodes.
We love y'all.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think it's one of those things where, and until it's in your face is when it becomes real.
Right.
And so I think all this time she was like thinking maybe, and now she's hearing it. She's seeing this person live, all this kind of stuff. She does decide to talk to Courtney together. And I think that was good because she kind of she's like, I really want to know, like, can you tell me, something that would know? And that's when we find out some interesting things that, she didn't know and a lot of people wouldn't have known. And she said one of the things was that Frankie had animosity towards Kayla's mom. And then also that Kayla's mom was a stripper.
Right.
Which, again, wasn't, public knowledge. It wasn't online. So these are things she knows. And then also that she was abused, or that Frankie, was abused and locked in a basement, when they were kids. So, and this was alongside her aunt, which is Frankie's sister, that's with her, Shannon. So they end up going the next day. They head over to Courtney's house and they bring Shannon with her because Shannon did come. She stayed back the first time, which I thought was good, and so now she's with her. So they actually go to her house. Again, it's just they're driving to the house and you hear the music again, and
the disturbing music,
disturbing music again, driving to the house. But it does, like the way they made it seem like it, because it is Florida. So, but it makes it seem like we're going to the Everglades, like swamp or something. Like some of the places,
like this was like what was it, the Blair Witch Project?
Yeah, that's what it made it look like. I'm like, oh gosh. So then like she's some witch doctor or something, and she lives in this hut, and does that's what they were.
She looked like she almost didn't have neighbors in that in that Florida suburb or whatnot.
Right. But it didn't. They got to the house. It's a regular looking house. So they get to the house, and then they're talking. And, she explains also why she was cautious that particular day because, she wasn't. One of the things they did mention is that, and I think it was Kayla that said she was emotionless. She didn't really have a lot of emotion talking.
Exactly.
So, which was part of her particular skepticism. What do you feel? Do you feel that way?
I didn't realize that until she had said that. She was pretty just. I'm excited to see you type situation.
Right.
She had some emotion, but when she was
like
speaking,
one note. It was just one note.
Exactly. It was pretty flat. There you go.
Right.
It was pretty flat. So I didn't really think about it until she had mentioned that. You know, but once again, it was funny that she had mentioned right when they got there, they sat down, that she felt reserved because of the situation, and she kind of wanted to approach it a little bit more on the, you know, like on the slow end.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So they go inside the house. They're talking, and basically Nev and Max excuse themselves, and so they can leave it up to Shannon and Kayla and Miss Courtney. And so they're sitting there, and so she's talking, and this is where it's really catfish paranormal activity. Yeah, right. This is where it takes another turn.
Right.
You know, so they're sitting there talking, and Courtney's being very frank and very, you know, no pun intended, but being, you know, open, being very open. And basically she, you know, says these things, you know, kind of reiterates what she was saying before, and says that that Shannon, because Shannon's talking, this is before Nev and Max leave, but Shannon is saying that Nev and, she's saying that she still feels anger towards Frankie, because one of the things that she was saying, Courtney was saying, was that, you know, there's some tension there, and there's something there, and again, these are things that are not, you don't want to hear, but they wanted to hear it because they wanted to check the legitimacy of what she's saying.
Right.
And these, again, are things that no one else is going to know. So when she does admit, you know, and Frankie actually started talking at that point, and I think that's when me and Max like, we out. We're going to go outside.
We're going to go over here.
We're going to go outside.
Bless ourselves with the Holy Spirit.
Let y'all go ahead and talk.
We'll come back with some sage.
Exactly. Did you see? I love how Nev came back. Remember how he came back?
Hello? No, that's Frankie!
But he like cracked the door below. Like he really was. I think he was shook.
Super cautious.
He was a little shook. Anyway, so they start talking these things, and she says she admits, you know, having this anger, and that one of the other things, which is crazy that no one knew, was that Frankie slept with one of his foster moms.
Right.
Yo, son.
Frankie got it in with his foster mom.
Foster mom. I mean, this dude was, man.
Yeah.
So, and again, this is something that no one, like hardly anyone knew. And Shannon was basically saying like, yeah, she says it did happen.
Right.
It did happen. No one really knew anything about it. So for her to get this information, it has to be coming directly from Frankie.
Right.
And so at that point, then Frankie, I guess, enters the house, and they're asking like, is he here? And she's like, he's here. And then all of wait, what did you think about when Shannon starts feeling the goosebumps?
When Shannon started feeling the goosebumps, I was like, something's gonna happen, something's gonna pop out. And you know what? I was still like in my head, and people said this in the chat too, and you said this before too. Imagine Frankie's just alive for some sort of reason. He's alive, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, and he just popped up around the corner, like, well, you know. Hi.
I've been on the run, and yeah.
Right. Like, I don't know.
I mean, if that would have happened, it would have just been crazy. Like, I mean, this to me is actually makes more sense than something like that happening. You know, him like being on the run, and then he decides to turn himself in on catfish.
Right.
You know, like after being on the lam for 14 years. But the one thing is, it's just that we see this. You know, we're watching this happen. And this is, you know, again, if this is happening as it's being told to us or shown to us, that there's some paranormal activity going on. Like I said, she's get the goosebumps.
Right.
And then, you know, we see Courtney start, you know, saying these things that he's saying. And one of the things he says is that he misses his daughter.
Right.
And he also mentions about Shannon. He thought that he wouldn't like Shannon being there, but of course, he's happy that she's there.
Yeah.
So it was almost like
the bossy bitch is there.
Right.
When he said that, she was just like, that's him.
That's him. That's crazy too. Like, oh yeah, he would say that.
Right.
He would say that. So it was just, I'm trying to, it's just so crazy. Like this is going on, and everybody's just like, yeah. And, I mean, I guess it was almost like the way, and I don't want to know like how they were thinking during this time, because again, if it's me and supposedly a spirit is there and it's talking through this lady, I'm going to be like, yo, son, like, I'm still going to be like looking around. Like they weren't nervous at all.
No, I think it's different because it's somebody that they know. it's somebody. Well, in a Kayla's situation, somebody she really loves. So I think, like to me, if I were to see my grandfather again, he's like one of my heroes.
Right.
If I were to see him again, I don't think I would be scared. Now, if I were to see something else, something that I don't know,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I would be terrified. You know what I mean? Like I think it's different if you would see somebody, I think that you've missed and that you loved. I think that's why they were so calm about the situation. But if it was a stranger, if it was just somebody who just some tall, dark man with horns, bye.
And technically they didn't see anybody. You know, the presence was being felt. You know, and all this is being orchestrated. You know, through Shannon. So, or not Shannon, I'm sorry. I keep getting Shannon. Through Courtney. All this is being orchestrated through Courtney, and she's the one that's saying he's here, and she's reiterating, you know, he's talking through her in essence.
Yeah.
So, and then, but the things that he's saying, again, they feel comfortable. And I think, you know, you're right, is that not only is this somebody that they know and are familiar with, but it's also the things that are being said are things that he would say and do.
Right.
So I think that, and when you, and to be honest, if you miss somebody, and you look at Kayla's situation, she's 18 years old. She already, you know, talked about, you know, having a rough life, childhood, because her parents weren't there. You know, her mother dies violently, her dad dies violently. I mean, these are all things that you're holding in, you're suppressing, and at some point in time, you want some kind of closure and release from it. And when all these things happen, again, she was 4.
Exactly.
You know? So she was very, very young, and to try to process something like this. So I think it's kind of, for them, I think it's more of a comfort, you know, that he's doing this, and like to the tune where even Shannon was like, "Yo, can we come back?
Right, with family,
can we like, you know, really just so they can, I guess, feel his presence."
Right.
So another thing I want to bring up, and this is the one thing that I really am like, little bit of side eye, is that supposedly he visited the foster mom who he slept with. So if he visited the foster mom who he slept with, because the foster mom actually reached out to Kayla.
Yeah.
And said these things, and she's like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she just said that, you know, he reached out. So my thing is, if he can reach out to the foster mom, why isn't he just reaching out to Kayla by himself?
Right.
Why is he using Courtney?
That's true.
And that's, to me, is the biggest question I have about that.
They were saying, because he felt Joshua Taylor. They were saying that when you get mad at somebody or you're frustrated at somebody, you attach to them. So you attach to this. What the theory was, they attached to things that were bad for them, and that was bad for him, and that's the reason why.
So that's why he attached.
Exactly. Well, I mean, we don't know the rules. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
right.
what rules are there? We don't know anything about that.
mean,
but that was a theory, that because he had bad situations with them.
Right. That's why he was able to do that.
I'm sorry, the foster mom. That's why he was able to haunt her. I hate saying that word.
Yeah.
Haunt her. Yeah.
I don't know. But I that's the one aspect where I was just like, wait, if he could go visit the foster mom, and you know, and I'm not saying he didn't, but I'm just saying, like, why can't he just go visit his daughter, or why can't he go visit, you know, the family, or what have you? But you know, again, this is all something that I don't deal with.
Right.
It's not my expertise, so
I would not like to deal with either.
I'm gonna leave that like it is.
Right.
The bottom line is, it seemed like, you know, when we in the show, it seemed like Kayla was happy about it, and she felt good about the situation. The aunt felt good about the situation as well, and it seemed like, you know, Miss Courtney was like, hey, you know, we're a new family. Like, she felt connected and was like, yeah, you can come anytime, and you know, whatever you want, it's all good. So if everybody's happy, then all good.
Right.
You know, my thing is, especially, you know, I feel for people that go through tragedy in their life, especially when they're young. So if this is going to better her, then
awesome, go for it.
do it.
Right.
Handle it.
Right.
Yeah, not for me, but there it goes.
Not
So
for me either.
interesting episode. I don't know where they can go from this for the next episode. I'm just like, yo, where do you go from this? Like, this is like, and it's so far out of the norm and scope of the way the show is done. But we've said it, you know, I've said it pretty much every single episode, that they're challenging themselves, you know, the Catfish team, as far as putting out, you know, new things and things that we've never seen as far as the show is concerned.
Right. They're trying to make this live even more. You know what I mean?
Right.
They've heard the concerns about it's getting old, it's getting old, it's getting old.
Right.
So, you know, when things come out like this, you know, it's still not dead. There's still things, it's still not dead, unintended. There's still things that can come out of Catfish, you know what I mean? And just see how people receive it and whatnot.
Absolutely.
I know, I received this episode really, really well.
Right.
I thought it was, whether, like I said, whether it's a hoax, whether it's all TV magic, still the way it made me feel and the way it kind of processed through me, like it was a great episode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was like watching a movie, 90-minute movie.
Like watching a 90-minute movie.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There it is.
Nev and Max. Catfishing. Good job.
Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That has been our show for today. We will be here next week. Mr. Be Your Own Dad, Jimmy V. Bear himself will be back with us. And so we'll be glad to have him back. I've been your host, Lim Gonsalves. You can find me always at The Poet Saint all day, every day. Where can they find you, sir?
Like always, guys, it's your boy Nino. You can catch me at Nino Llanera on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, all that good stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat. I was trying to catch up with y'all. Y'all were rolling in the chat.
Getting it cracking.
Yeah, thank you so much to everyone in there and leaving the comments and retweeting and all the other stuff. We'll see you next week. Crazy episode.
Yeah, crazy episode. Next week might be crazier. We don't know. But make sure I also want to let you know that subscribe to us on YouTube. And make sure that you give us 5 stars because the rest don't count. And that's how we like to roll. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.